Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of System Shock Radio. As always, I am your host, Nigel, and this, unfortunately, is going to be a pre recorded video. I did try to go live earlier, but I unfortunately was unable to. I was having some trouble actually going live, and I'm not sure what it is. I'm looking into it, but hopefully I can get figured out to where I can go live again. But if I can't, then I'll have to do these for the time being until I can find a new home for my podcast. And honestly, I kind of expected this to happen at some point. Even from the get-go, when I started up Phoenix Rising Radio and then moved to System Shock Radio, I knew being able to go live on Facebook wasn't going to be a permanent thing, unfortunately. It was more so a starting point for myself. So, if I can no longer go live on Facebook, then I will be looking for a new home for my podcast. And when I find it and we start recording videos, I will, of course, keep you guys posted so that you can continue to support me. I already thank you guys so much for the support you've shown already. It's amazing, and I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart to have so many of you guys liking, sharing, commenting, just supporting me in every way, shape, or form. That is really fantastic, and I just want to truly say thank you, even through here, as we can't go live. But we're gonna get right into it. So first things first, I want to start by saying Happy Mother's Day, everyone. To all the mothers out there, whether it's new mothers or what have you, Happy Mother's Day to you all. And on my Poetry with Nigel Dixie page, I will be posting a Mother's Day poem, and that will go up around between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, let's get started. I just want to truly say thank you to all the mothers for all your hard work, dedication, and sacrifices that you've made. Us, your children, are so grateful. Oh, in ways we cannot even express. No amount of Happy Mother's Days, no amount of I love you could truly capture just how much we value and appreciate you. But we're going to say it anyway. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. And without further ado, let's get started. And as per usual, we're going to get started, first of all, by saying, how are you all doing? And how is everyone's week been? How's everyone's day been? How is quarantine coming along? For the essential workers, how are things going? The essential workers, I want to thank you as well. I am one of them as well. So for the essential workers, I want to give a shout out to you guys as well. But without further ado, we're going to get started with the answer to last week's riddle. And to recap, last week's riddle was this: what disappears as soon as you say its name? The answer to that is very simple. It's silence. So, silence is like this. Nothing. You can't hear anything. But as soon as I start talking, or as soon as I do this, silence. The silence is then broken because I said the word silence. And but that's last week's riddle. If you got that, congratulations. And of course, stay tuned at the end for next week's riddle. And we're going to get into our major topic for today. I decided to not have any other topics but this one because I want to focus as much time into this topic as possible. And that is, of course, I've been hyping it up the past few days, and here we are. The Michael Jackson child molestation trials. There was two. There was one in 1993, and then another one in 2003. Ironically enough, 10 years later. But what I'm going to do is we are going to analyze both of these. And I have arguments for both sides. The side that says Michael Jackson is guilty of these crimes, the side that says Michael Jackson is innocent of these crimes. So if you're a diehard Michael fan and you don't want to hear anything that convicts him please just hear me out. And if you're one of the people who's adamant that Michael Jackson is guilty, just hear me out as well. I'll do my best to argue both sides, and I will let you decide for yourselves. One thing I do not want to do is I do not want to come here and tell you what to think and what to believe about this trial, because ultimately I don't want to insult your intelligence. That's the last thing I want to do. You are all capable of making your own judgments and your own decisions, because we have the power to do that as human beings. We can believe what we want. We can say and do virtually anything that we want, and we're allowed to think however we want. We're allowed to feel however we want. So I will leave that judgment up to you, but I will present you both sides that I found. And what I found has surprised me, and I will show you why. So I have the two sides here. I have them typed down. So what I did to prepare for these arguments is that I took a look at both sides. I took a look at articles that said Michael Jackson was guilty, and I looked at that evidence, but then I also looked at ones that said Michael Jackson was innocent. So I've also looked at documentaries. So there were two major documentaries that I watched. The first one was Leaving Neverland, parts 1 and 2 on HBO. And what Leaving Neverland is about the eyewitness accounts of two men who claim that Michael Jackson sexually abused them, which is Mr. Wade Robson and Mr. James Safechuck. And both these men gave accounts, went to very graphic detail about the things that Michael Jackson did to them, and their parents were on there, their future wives were on there as well, and they gave an eyewitness account as to everything that happened when they stayed at the Neverland Ranch, when Michael Jackson contacted them, almost had a personal relationship with them, and it's pretty interesting how similar their stories are. So I took down notes from the documentary as well. But another documentary that I watched, and shout out to my friend, Mr. Darren Rufus. He posted this documentary on his Facebook page. It's called Square One, and it's a documentary that analyzes both trials and tries to prove Michael Jackson's innocence. And I can't lie, I'm going to be 100% honest, 100% transparent with you all, because I do not want to lie to you. I looked at Leaving Neverland first, and at first I didn't want to watch Square One documentary because I felt within myself that there's no way Michael could be innocent after watching this. I did have a bit of a emotional connection to this documentary, but after, and I'll admit it, when I was presented yesterday, ready to go with the episode, I hadn't fully watched the Square One documentary, and that was wrong of me, and I'll show you why. But I was almost convinced it was going to heavily favor on Michael Jackson being guilty. But you know what? Because I wasn't able to go live yesterday, I took the time to actually go through this documentary, and I was surprised by what I found. So let me present you all with the two arguments. So the first set that I have is that Michael Jackson's guilty. So what I've recorded is that we have the two victim accounts, which is Wade Robinson and Wade Robson, sorry about that, and James Safechuck from Leaving Neverland. And we have that Michael Jackson settled out of court. Now, a lot of people feel that Michael Jackson settling out of court, that's a sign of guilt, that he settled out of court, he must have done something. He bought their silence, people will tell you. And I have that gone down. And then his own sister, LaToya Jackson, and said that her brother molested the kids and showed checks made out to the families of it wasn't Robson or Safechuck that testified against Michael Jackson in 1993. They didn't confessed that Jackson had abused them until later. They didn't allege that until later. But instead, it was from Jordan Chandler. And Jordan Chandler said that Michael Jackson abused him, and his father, Evan, was there with them. And we'll analyze that in just a bit. But his sister said they were true, and she later took back her statements years later, saying that she was brainwashed. But at the time when it came out, LaToya said that the allegations were true. And then there was another documentary, even before Leaving Neverland. This came out in 2003, and if I'm not mistaken, helped spark the next investigation called Living with Michael Jackson. And this seemed to state that Michael Jackson was guilty, as apparently a cancer survivor, named Gavin Arvizio, just wanted to get the name right, stayed with Michael and was abused by him. So that's what we have on the guilty side, and with all the graphic detail that was in the documentary, I can't lie, I was sick to my stomach watching it, and I was like, how could he do such a thing? And I looked at the documentary. They gave very vivid descriptions, and they talked about where they were and what they were doing and what Michael said to them, how he groomed them to pretty much lie, because in the 2003 trial, Wade Robson was called as a witness and said Michael Jackson didn't abuse him. But in the documentary, he said that Michael Jackson did abuse him. And the reason he said he switched up is because Michael had groomed them, saying, if you tell on me, both of us will get in trouble. And oftentimes with abusers, they find that what people say, why didn't this abuser speak out when they had the chance? Oftentimes it's because of the fear of backlash, the fear of, if I speak out, what will happen? So an example I like to give is if you catch a family member doing something wrong, and that family member says, don't tell your parents, don't tell anyone else. And this family member is super close with your parents. Are you going to tell on them? It's sort of an empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. If you were in their shoes and you experienced what they experienced, what would you have done? Now, we can only give the answer that we know best, because ultimately we weren't there and we didn't experience what they experienced. But we are going to move to the next argument, saying Michael Jackson is innocent. And what I found is that people said that he was a kind, gentle individual. He wouldn't do such a thing. And in the Square One documentary, they mentioned that psychiatrists were talked to and said that Michael Jackson didn't show the behavior of a regular pedophile. And a study was done, and it showed that on average, pedophiles rape about 200 children, and Michael Jackson only had 5 accusers. So we have that, and then when he was arrested, and they did a search in the Neverland house, which was his ranch, the Neverland Ranch. That house is absolutely ridiculous from what I've seen the description of. They found no evidence of child pornography or anything linking Michael Jackson to child pornography. The FBI records were brought up that were investigating Michael several different times. 20 different branches within the FBI searched Michael. They found nothing that incriminated him. And another argument, which was a great point, is why did the parents settle out of court? Now, those in favor of Jackson saying that he didn't do these things posed a very interesting question, and that's, if your child was abused by this person, why would you agree to settle? If you, the parent, know that your child was abused by this person, and wouldn't you want to see them behind bars? Why would you settle with them? And so I found that interesting. Remember, this is both sides. I want to be as fair, as neutral as possible to present you both sides. And another thing that they brought up is that the testimonies do not match up. oftentimes what the accuser said don't quite match up. And I have a few quotes. So, I have some quotes showing some mismatches. And these quotes were from the Washington Post article about it. So, I researched several articles from New York Times, from Washington Post, etc. And here's some quotes. This first one says, Gavin's mother, Janet Arvizo, oh, if I pronounced that wrong, I apologize, accused Jackson of holding them hostage at Neverland and didn't allow them to know the time. Jackson's defense team proved this wrong by showing video of the property in court. It is clear from the footage that there are clocks all over the ranch. Jackson's lawyer also provided receipts from and its various shopping trips during the time she claimed to be held hostage. Celebrities like Chris Tucker and Jay Leno also testified that they had bad experiences with this family, talking about the Arvizo family. Tucker felt they were taking advantage of his wealth and generosity. Ultimately, Jackson was found not guilty on all charges. So that's talking about the 2003 trial, and he ended up being found not guilty in 2005. And those are some interesting points. If you're being held hostage, you wouldn't be able to go anywhere, and yet she was taking shopping trips. Apparently, she was being given the royal treatment. When Jackson let a lot of his guests stay over, he gave them the royal treatment, as people have said. But I want to read this next quote. It says, the problem with this reaction is that the film doesn't actually include any evidence. This is talking about the Leaving Neverland documentary. If anything, the facts point to Robson and Safechuck being proven liars. When Robson filed his declaration in 2013, he claimed Jackson began molesting him on the second night he spent with him. This claim was repeated in several amended complaints from 2014 to 2016. However, during his deposition in late 2016, excerpts from a book draft Robson wrote were read. In the draft, Robson wrote the molestation didn't occur the first 2 nights. Instead, it began later on in the week. This is the version we hear in the film. So there's a bit of a mismatch there of testimonies. Here's another quote, the next quote, and then I have one more after this. Robson also claimed that Jackson tried to prevent him from seeing women. However, Jackson's niece, Brandy Jackson, revealed she dated Robson for nearly 10 years. In fact, she also claimed it was Michael who set the two up because he heard Robson had a crush on her. This relationship was not mentioned in the documentary. According to leaked emails sent from Robson to his mother, he asked her if a story by a security guard was true. She responded telling him it wasn't true, yet he included the same story, almost verbatim, in his amended complaint filed in September 2016. So, Wade Robson and James Safechuck attempted to sue Michael Jackson's estate, for, or I believe, $20 million each for or income based on abuse. They feel that they should be compensated for the abuse that Hayes suffered. Or neither one was accepted, it was denied, but now they are in appeal as of 2019. And here's the last quote that I have. Safechuck provided dates of the alleged abuse in his lawsuit against the estate. However, certain dates were proven to be inaccurate. Safechuck claimed Jackson molested him during a trip to New York where he was performing at the Grammys in February 1989. The problem is the Grammys were not in New York in 1989, they were in Los Angeles, and Jackson didn't perform that year. Jackson did perform at the Grammys in New York a year earlier in March 1988. However, Safechuck claimed he was first molested by Jackson during the Paris stop of his world tour in June 1988. So those are just a few quotes on the side of course, pro Jackson didn't do it. And it shows some mismatch in dates, and that can be crucial because if dates are mismatched, that could prove either something got messed up or the person is false. They're giving false information. And some more evidence for Michael Jackson being innocent. And And this one is people saying if Michael Jackson did rape these people, it's because he had a depraved childhood. And Michael Jackson himself, and that's why I find this kind of ironic, Michael Jackson being accused of this, because Michael Jackson himself was apparently both physically and sexually abused by his parents growing up. It's well documented that Joe Jackson abused his children, and people who are pro Jackson did do it may say that this is why, because he didn't really have a childhood growing up. He was forced to perform music. And Joe Jackson claimed that perhaps if he didn't abuse Michael wouldn't have become the success story that he is. He's one of the highest selling entertainers of all time. I mean, arguably one of the greatest singers of all time as well. So, I found some more. Michael Jackson, of course, was acquitted. In 2005, he was found not guilty. The mother of the alleged victim, Janet Arvizo, in 2005, apparently snapped her fingers at jurors, which is something you probably should not do, because if you're seen as aggressive, that can be seen as defensive. So, apparently, the family also sued JCPenney Corporation after the boy was accused of shoplifting, and they accused security guards of rough treatment of the family. This is about the Arvizo family again, that they tried to sue JCPenney as well. I believe 1 or 2 years before the 2003 trial. I already went into detail. So this one's a big one right here, and I wrote down that when Jordan Chandler was going in and he accused Michael Jackson of molesting him, he was told to describe Michael Jackson's genitals, and Michael, when he was arrested, had his genitals photographed. He had his genitals photographed, he had his buttocks photographed, and he had his lower torso photographed. And they found mismatches, is that the descriptions of his actual genitals versus the picture of it didn't quite match. And what I've also found is that Evan Chandler, apparently, he, through taped phone calls, said he wanted to ruin Michael Jackson's career and injected his son with a drug. And I will look up exactly what that drug is in the article here. But this drug was known through studies to erase memories and allow for new ones to be implanted in one's memory. So, the argument could be made that when Evan Chandler injected his son with this drug, and the reason he injected his son with this drug, I'm looking at what the drug's name is so I can get it accurate for you guys, but the reason that he claimed to have injected his son with the drug is because he wanted to remove a tooth from his son. And the name of the drug is sodium amytal. And through medical research, that has shown to, as I previously mentioned, erase memories allow for new ones to be reprogrammed. And for years, up until the study was done, I believe just a month or a year before the 1993 trial, before that, it was thought that the drug was a type of truth serum until these things came to light. And of course, science always changes up based on new evidence. So, the argument could be made that it's possible that Evan didn't know exactly what the drug did, but based on this evidence, it does look pretty shady. And Evan was said to be very jealous of his son and his now divorced wife's attention towards Michael, and his wife remarried And Chandler wasn't really a huge fan of that. And Chandler was a dentist that became a screenwriter. And it was argued that he wanted this extortion. And what I found interesting is that he tried to push the civil trial versus the criminal trial. He tried to push the civil trial before the criminal trial. So a criminal trial is where they find the defendant guilty or not, but a civil trial is where things are settled and money can be settled. So the fact that his attorney, Chandler's attorney, his legal team, I should say, tried to push for the civil trial to come before the criminal trial, well, some would say it does look a bit suspicious. And as I mentioned before, if your son truly was the victim of this is the argument that people are making. Remember, I'm trying to be fair here. If you truly were the parent of a abused child victim, why would you agree to settle? And after the Michael Jackson trial, well, it was amended to the state of California for the criminal trial to always come before the civil trial. Well, but let's say that these allegations are true. Let's say that maybe tomorrow or even today or so, well, his family, he says Michael Jackson did do these things, all these are true. Then what? Do we still listen to his music? And that was the moral and mental struggle that I found myself with over these things is, okay, if Michael Jackson truly is guilty of these things, if he truly was settling out of court or to buy silence, apparently, according to Michael Jackson, the reason he said he settled out of trial is because his defense team advised him to, because it would be cheaper, or rather than trying to fight this. But let's say it's all true. All of it is true. Do we still listen to his music? Like, a lot of people may say, hey, no, I don't want to listen to him anymore, or he's a bad person, we should not be listening to his music anymore. But others may say, I'm going to separate the artist from his work. His music is still good, because Michael Jackson's music literally defined generations. And the thing is, he's made such an impact on the world. Well, you can probably name more Michael Jackson songs, and if I offend fans, I'm sorry, but you could probably name more Michael Jackson songs than you could Beyonce songs or Drake songs or whoever songs. And he literally defined generations, was seen as this pop star. I remember as a kid, and back when I was going to daycare, shout out to Nanny's Nook, one time they showed us a video. This was shortly after Michael Jackson died in 2009. What's crazy is he died on the last day of school. Last day of third grade, for me. And they showed us a video of Michael Jackson performing in concert. And this dude was just standing on the stage, didn't say a word yet, and already people were fainting. EMTs, ambulances were coming in. It was insane. This man was such a pop icon. Do we still listen to his music? My honest answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know if I still can listen to his music. I imagine most likely would be wrong, but do we separate the artist from the art? And that's what a lot of people find themselves wrestling with. Same with R. Kelly. Do we separate the artist from his art? Especially because R. Kelly, he seemingly has more evidence against him, and who knows, I may talk about that on a future episode. But R. Kelly has a lot of evidence against him. Bill Cosby, some of them Bill Cosby admitted to. Do we still go support him? If Bill Cosby, let's say Bill Cosby was released from prison and did a comedy show, would you go? And that's the thing that we wrestle with is, do we separate the artist from the art? But as I mentioned before, I will let you all make that decision. You all are very capable of making that decision. And the last thing I want to do who, as the host of the show, is tell you how you can and cannot feel. Well, that is not what I want to do, because that's not fair. And the reason that's not fair is because what if that was happening to me? What if you guys were telling me how to feel, how I should be feeling? I'd probably reject it. Like, I'm a human being. I can make decisions. But I will leave that up to you all, your interpretation. I've shown you both sides. Make the decision from here for yourselves. Well, it's not because someone told you to, not because I told you to, but because you make the decision for yourself. But that is about all I have for you today. Hey, sorry I couldn't do this live, but again, happy Mother's Day to you all. And we will, as per usual, conclude with next week's riddle. So, here it is. What loses its head during the day and gets it back at night? Let's read it one more time. What loses its head during the day and gets it back at night? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that is your riddle for today. Hey, so I will see you all next week. Hopefully we can do it live. Hopefully I can get the issue fixed. If not, I'll do another pre-recorded video and look for a new podcast on from there. But I will see you all later. Peace.